we're going to move swiftly onto the in-depth, just to have a look at what that means to us. So if we have a little bit more information, not just about what these key commercially significant patents are, but also what other patents has the innovator filed, and what other patents have been filed by generic companies. It gives us a lot of competitive intelligence in terms of who's doing what, but also might give us some ideas as to where the market is going. So we can simply click on the In-Depth Patents tab, and when we do that, we'll get effectively a list of all of the patents that have been identified via a comprehensive search through all of the all countries that we managed to do in our searches. Now, the first thing that pops up there is the graph. So that is a representation. The patent category distribution is a representation of the patents that are filed. There seems to be quite a lot of formulation and process patents. We've got 15 or so molecule patents, so it suggests that there is some activity around the molecular form that we might need to look at. And if you have a look at molecular patent files as well, there seems to have been a bit of a burst between 2006 onwards. And so that would suggest that there's been a little bit of generic activity post-launch, or at least coming up to launch. If we have a look at the formulation, one thing that I didn't mention in the key patents, but the more observant of you would have noticed that there were some formulation patents listed as key patents, which we had flagged as green because we didn't think they were particularly relevant or particularly difficult to circumvent. Even so, companies that have circumvented them may have filed their own IP on the ways around them. So you'll see there that there's a tiny little increase in activity for formulations there at the end of that period that we've monitored here as well. First thing I'm going to do is just open up the molecular form patents. When you're dealing with this amount of data, you can very effectively use the show hide. So I'm just going to look at the family category and description for these particular molecules, and we're just going to have a little look at the families that are involved there, and we can make some comments as we go along. Now, one of the beauties of this system is that at any stage you can make a note, which you can then choose to just keep personal, or you can share with the rest of the users on your particular subscription, in your working group, etc. So it's very easy to do. You can leave the note on a family, on a patent, or on an INN, or on a litigation. So the way that you do that is you just click on the icon. If there's a green icon, there's an icon with a little green circle, there's no notes. If there's an icon which is clean, just looks like a post-it note, then there is a note there. And to see that, to see what the note is, I'll show you in a moment as well. The other thing to note here is, even though we're looking at the comprehensive patent search, we're looking at a different module, it still includes the key patent families as well. So no comprehensive review is going to be complete without looking at those key patent families. So we like to have a look at those as well in this particular module, and keep an eye on those. So I've actually put some notes in here just to speed things up a little bit. So I'm going to show you how to show those notes. You simply just select it from the show field. And so this particular patent family, we said, look, we can't launch before everything in this family expires. There's SPCs filed on this members of the family, and it's one of the ones that's being challenged in the US. So if I'm looking at a global focus to my development, that might be the comment that I've made there, because I'm really going to be focusing on Europe and the US primarily. The next patent family down is the one that we've been talking about a little bit. So it's the one that relates to the salts generally, so almost any salt. So the comment there is that the patent is granted very broadly. It protects any acid salts of physpteridine, expires earlier than the SPCs in the EU, so largely irrelevant except for in early launch countries such as Turkey. And then if we scroll down, you can see I've noted that the Section 156 extension is issued on the US member. So just to bring that out to the fore. So the idea of the notes is you can either put your own intelligence in there, or you can just bring out the most important features of the patent family that you've identified, or the particular patent. Now, this is an interesting patent family just by reading the comments here. The first part of the patent actually claims specificity in hydrogen carbonate, so that's a salt. But then there is another molecular form which is claimed in this patent, and bear in mind that these comments are not lifted from the abstract. They're actually manually written based on an analysis of the claims. That this patent claim actually protects phosphatidine in either an enantiomeric form or as a mixture as a free base with a low salt content and a high purity content. So effectively, if any companies were thinking, well, that's all right, we can get around that salt patent because we just need to develop a base, excuse me, you're actually going to walk straight into this patent. So, and if we want to know, I'll open the note that I've written for that. If we actually want to know what the patent publications are for this particular family, you can open those up very quickly as well. And in this section here, similar to the matrix tree that I showed you earlier, you can very quickly just open up the patent by clicking on it, going to the page of the patent, selecting the claims, and then just checking what exactly this patent checks, this patent protects. So here you can see if the screen resolution is high enough, it's effectively phosphatidine, which meets the criteria that we mentioned in the comment. So above 97% purity and below 10% salt content. So that's the note that I've left in there. And then the idea here is just to try and get an idea of what other people are doing. Actavis here, they've got a published patent application which relates to the mandolate salt, but reading between the lines and looking at the other comment, it looks like that's actually related to the manufacture of pure phosphatidine or a salt thereof. Now, if that is to try and manufacture pure phosphatidine base, then obviously they may fall foul of the patent that we just looked at. Could be that they're just trying to find a way of efficiently manufacturing the salt form by using mandelic acid as an intermediate. Again, looking down, Actavis are still very active in there, so that's giving you an indication of companies that are actually trying to work around this problem. There's an Italian company there, there's Cadilla as well, and Actavis have also got some patent filings on the amorphous form of the fumarate, as well as those salts that we identified. And then the Chemispa has got some patent claims to the different crystalline forms of the fumarate. And then, of course, last but certainly not least, Teva have some claims in there to a polymorphically pure crystalline form A, B, and form I, or 1, whichever it may be. So just by looking at the molecular forms there, we can very quickly see what is going on with that particular active ingredient and how companies might be dealing with the salt issue that we've identified. Now, similarly, we can do that for the formulations simply by collapsing, expanding the various sections, having a look at the oral formulations to see who's doing what. What we'll do is we'll just load those families up there and then load the family category and description again, so we can very easily see what's happening. So Pharmacia here has a key patent. That's actually for tolterodine, but it's relevant to fesoterodine just by the broadness of the claims. We've got a number of companies here. So Pharmacia is obviously part of the Pfizer group, who have some formulation patents in this field as well. Then we see later on, as we go down through the filings, we see some of the generic companies creep in. So there's Pharmathen, Ranciofarm, etc. Just coming with their filings for modified release oral composition. So we know that they're working on formulating this product in a way that circumvents those original formulation patents that we saw as a key patent as well. Now, essentially, that's all I wanted to show you with the in-depth patents information. It's there's not a huge amount of bells and whistles with the stuff. The value in the information there is in the fact that it's there and how difficult it is to find. This information doesn't come from a simple keyword search. It comes from a lot of comprehensive searching. However, if you do have access to a number of products in the in-depth section, you can actually draw some nice conclusions from the data in terms of who's doing what. So let me throw a certain scenario at you that I just want to know that I've heard that Korea is becoming very much a technological centre for the development of biologics, follow-on biologics. And perhaps even innovative biologics down the line as well. So one of the ways of searching for that is to look in the in-depth patent section, searching again all of the INNs. We have a section here where you can actually select your biologic categories to restrict your search. So I'm just going to select all of them. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, look, I want all of the patent families where the original priority document was filed in Korea, i.e. the invention originated in Korea, or by the likelihood it did. Okay, and then I'm just going to do my search there. There's no date ranges. I'm just trying to look for activity. I'm trying to look for companies and applicants and see who's doing what. So up should come a list of INNs where there are patents filed that have been identified during an in-depth search where the patent was originated by a Korean company. Just let that load. Okay, now here you can see, for example, that we've got epoetin alpha that's got 14 families that were filed by a Korean company, so that's a good one to have a look at. So I'm just going to have a look at the family summary there. I won't look at any other detail at this stage. Just going to expand that out just so that I can have a look at what companies are involved in this kind of development here. So the list of INNs in itself is very valuable. It tells you what INNs are being worked on in Korea, but also the list of companies is something that may be news to you if you're looking at potentially working with a company there. You can see there's a whole range of different companies, some likely ones, some unlikely ones as well. So that's just a demonstration of how you might use in-depth patents across a number of molecules to generate some competitive intelligence and try and get one step ahead of the competition. Now, that concludes the in-depth discussion for today. I'm just going to have a look and see if we have any questions that have come through the chat feature. I should warn you that it wasn't working too well in the earlier webinar that we did, so please forgive me if you submitted a question and we don't answer it right now. But we will get back to everybody. We do have a record of who's asked the question, and we will get back to everybody with an answer if you do have one. There was one question that came from an earlier webinar, which was where I can see the list of in-depth search reports that I have access to. So that's available from the dashboard. You can certainly view what subscriptions you have and order new subscriptions from there as well. There was another question as well that said that requested how many INNs have constraint dates and flags. So with that being a manual process and requiring analysis of a number of patents in a number of families, that's not something which is rolled out across the entire suite of key patent INNs that we have, which is about 2,000. So we only have that information for about 400 INNs at this stage. But they are prioritized in terms of which ones we work on first, and we are selecting the what we believe is the most important ones to generic developers at this stage. Okay, well it appears that we don't have any questions coming through, but I'll take this opportunity just to thank you all for your attention. I hope those of you who are current users have got a lot out of the webinar and get more out of their use of Ark Patent Intelligence, and I hope that those who aren't current users certainly would like to be after this demonstration. Please feel free to follow up with your local business development managers either in the US or the UK or here in Australia, and we'll be more than happy to help you out with any queries you have. Thank you very much for your attention.